Hi, Bashar.
And you good day.
Greetings to you and your civilization.
And you and yours as well.
So I have been disassociating from the mass consensus for about 6 years.
Oh, all right.
And
You are going mad.
some people think so.
Yes. Well, remember, there are positive ways to go mad and negative ways to go mad, so it's all right to be a little bit crazy because there is a good crazy as well as a negative crazy. So as long as you are being the good crazy and going mad in a positive way, please keep going.
Yes, somebody said that it's no great achievement to be well adjusted to an insane society.
Yes.
Okay, so my first question is, I am very interested in your consciousness and the capabilities of your and your collective consciousness.
Yes.
What are the capabilities that we do not have that you have?
Well, you have the capabilities, it's just that you're not exercising them as fully as you could be yet.
Understood.
In a more conscious way. But in exercising those capabilities, one of the things that we express to some degree is what you're seeing right now. We have the capability of forming a vibrational harmonic lock with beings that are trained to harmonize with our frequency of consciousness so that we can use the idea of a biological translator to communicate these ideas to other civilizations such as yours. Our consciousness is also flexible enough to go up and down what you would consider to be the timeline. In other words, the conversation that you believe we are having now, I may not have had yet, or I may have had a long time ago. But my consciousness will know where to direct the conversation so that it is appearing to be a conversation that is occurring in your present.
Wow.
All right, that's one way to put it. So, also, in that we are now in our evolutionary stage becoming closer to non-physical beings, we also exhibit many of the qualities that you associate with non-physical spirits. We can communicate with the spirits that are non-physical and do so all the time.
Mm-hmm. So since we are all shifting
Yes.
timelines billions of times a second,
Yes.
how do you keep up with this? Like you must be perceiving multiple timelines and realities simultaneously because
Yes.
you're always there in my reality.
Yes. But there are many moments in between what appear to be your moments. And we can use those. So it's not actually simultaneous exactly, although on one level it is because everything exists all at once. But in terms of the way we express it, we are actually skipping moments with you, but they're so refined, so small, you don't notice it. And in between those moments, we can be talking to several other civilizations in their moments. Kind of like this.
Is that because we are moving at a much slower rate than you
It's
guys?
not that you're moving at a slower rate, it's that you're perceiving at a slower rate.
Mm-hmm.
We all move at the same rate.
So approximately how many simultaneous timelines and parallel realities do you perceive at once?
One at once, but it depends on what you mean by once.
But is it like spread out, like you can see the timeline as a panoramic
Yes, we can do
picture?
that if we wish. That's another ability we have, is to adjust our focus in such a way as to focus in on what you might consider to be a singular parallel reality, or spread our focus out to see a multitude of parallel realities simultaneously. We have given you the analogy of your film strip, yes?
Yes.
So you can either look at the idea of the movie on the screen, one frame at a time as it's projected, or you can be the projectionist and hold the film strip out and see all the frames at the same time. And you can go in between that.
But in reality, there are multiple
In what reality?
choices, multiple choices that we
Yes.
can create, and
Yes.
all of those choices exist at the same time, right?
They do, but you don't
So it's
necessarily,
not just
you
one.
don't necessarily, as your focus, take all the choices. Other versions of you do.
Yes. So it's not just one possibility. The film strip contains, in our reality, only one timeline.
No, it doesn't. Because you can actually cut it apart and edit it in any way you want. And then it can contain another
I know,
timeline.
but the finished product is.
If you want to freeze it that way, then yes, you say that's one timeline. But that timeline is composed of a number of frames, each of which is its own parallel reality.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Remember that a parallel reality has no movement in it. It's a frozen snapshot. It's a frozen idea. That's what we're referring to as a parallel reality.
Okay, so
The idea of a multitude of parallel reality frames in a certain sequence is what you're referring to as a timeline.
okay, got it. So when there is movement, that's a timeline.
Yes.
Parallel timeline.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And you can compose that timeline out of any number of still frames in whatever is relevant for your particular journey.
Okay, great. My next question is, what is the advantages of a hybrid humanoid being as opposed to a purely mammalian being created by nature or God?
Well, it's not that we're not created by nature, but there are many ways to create things in nature. And some of the advantages are what we have just been talking about, aren't they? The ability to experience expanded awareness, a multitude of realities simultaneously, the idea of seeing more of existence and applying and experiencing more of all that is.
So is that your purpose for creating hybrid beings?
Well, I am a hybrid being.
But you're creating the sixth generation,
And so are all of you. We're creating it with you. Most of you just don't know it yet. Most of you don't remember that you're doing it, but you are. You're all participating in this. It's just that you've forgotten. But that's okay, because the fact that you have forgotten is actually used in a very special way. When you start remembering that you're actually participating in the sixth hybrid race creation, the rate at which you remember you've already had contact, the rate at which you remember that you're participating in that evolutionary agenda for your own world, as well as ours and others, is the rate at which we then know when you're ready for more conscious open contact.
I am not remembering anything about creating a hybrid race. I am getting flashes of remembrances of a reality I used to exist in,
Yes.
where I was like a godlike being, where I could look into other realities
Yes.
at will and project my consciousness
Yes.
into several places.
Yes. Well, I'm not saying all of you are participating in the same way, but you're all participating.
So what are these flashes that I'm remembering?
You are beginning to remember more of yourself on a higher plane, a higher level.
Yes.
So the idea is
And it's
to apply that in your reality in whatever way is relevant for you. And the easiest way to do that is to act on your highest passion. Because that's what that vibration is all about, is helping you become your version in physical reality of what it is you're tapping into on a higher plane.
And is that the goal, to fully remember and come home, so to speak, or become
really.
that?
No, not really. I understand what you mean by that, but the goal is to experience it itself. Experience the process of it. The process is the point. The journey is the destination. So it doesn't really matter so much where you get to, because whenever you get there, there will always be another place to go to. So in that sense, that goal never really ends.
So
It's always about the journey. It's always about the experience. It's always about the process.
so I am not remembering the end goal. I am remembering a point in the process
Yes.
later on.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Well, then pleasant dreams to you.
I have more questions.
Nope.
No.
Time to allow someone else to interact. And besides which, others will also answer some of your questions. It's not necessarily our job to answer them all because it is more appropriate for your own guides or other beings to interact with you in other ways.
Ready? Good morning, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Well, thank you. I've never heard you before, so this is a treat.
Well, what a coincidence. We've never heard you before either.
Okay,
What are the odds?
pretty good. My question is about crystals.
Yes.
For several years, I collect crystals, and I have
All
some
right.
orbs, like crystal balls.
Yes, yes, yes.
They've been changing colors inside.
Yes.
There have been gold things running through them.
Yes.
And my amethyst crystals are getting white on them instead of purple.
All right.
And then about 3 years ago,
Yes.
I looked in my backyard, cleaning up the bushes and stuff. And there was a very large quartz crystal there that I didn't own, had never been there before. And then a smaller one that looked like it fell off of that.
Yes.
Where did that come from and why?
Well, first of all, have you heard us talk about the concept of permission slips?
No.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes?
All right. Are you sure?
Positive.
All right. All objects, all tools, all rituals, all techniques are permission slips you attract yourself to because they are representative of something within your belief system that says that if you use this tool, technique, ritual, or object, you will then be more likely to allow yourself to give yourself permission to be more of who you are.
Okay.
The things themselves don't really do anything. They are simply reflective of something within your belief system that says that now that you have this object, this tool, this technique, this ritual, now it's possible for you to shift your belief system and allow yourself to experience something you didn't believe you were capable of experiencing previously to the attraction of that particular permission slip. So the
Okay.
crystals for you are functioning as a reflective permission slip to reflect to you the changes, the shifts going on in frequency within your own consciousness, which is translating as shifts in color vibrations within the crystals. And also shifts in your consciousness that are big enough, abrupt enough, that you can actually begin to manifest things in your reality that weren't there before.
Well, that's exciting.
It is.
So I keep them in my bedroom.
Oh, all
But
right.
but I don't know what to do with them. Just let them be.
You are already doing what you need to do with them,
I'm here.
just by being attracted to them.
Okay.
They are the permission slips that you say work for you now. If suddenly you are attracted to something else, then that at that moment will be the permission slip that works best for you. So just follow it.
Thank you.
But remember, every single permission slip you attract in your life is simply for the ultimate purpose of reminding you that you are the ultimate permission slip. You're the one giving yourself permission to change and be more of who you are. And therefore, ultimately, you will not necessarily need the permission slips that you're attracting right now. You will understand how to get into the state that you need to get into, and you will simply give yourself permission to do so without necessarily needing an outside object, tool, technique, or ritual to do so.
Excellent.
This is what teachers do. This is what reflections are for, to remind you that you're the one that's initiating the experience anyway. And all of these things are just outer projections and outer reflections of what's going on in your own consciousness. All objects, all tools, all techniques, all rituals. We reinforce the sentence that way because we know that inevitably someone will come up and go, "What about astrology?"
Been there.
What
too.
about tarot card reading?
Right.
And then we will be saying one more time, all tools, all. You get the point.
I look at them as a gift.
They
just
are
appeared,
a gift.
so.
They are a gift you give yourself to make it easier within your belief system to change your belief system. And so that is an absolute gift that you're giving to yourself. So bravo or brava and congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome.
Hello, Bashar.
I know you. Good day.
I've got questions and statements. I'd like to give it all to you at once.
Well, all right.
Okay, my job is I'm an architect, and I've recently started incorporating the phi ratio into some of my projects.
All right.
The project I finished, I had to enclose part of the structure, and there were 6 rectangular voids, all conforming to the phi ratio.
Okay.
And when I left the project, I thought, how does that affect the person who lives in that house now? They're not really interested in this kind of thing. They thought they looked nice, but that was as far as it went. So so then I moved on to my next project. Is I'm converting a small room into a meditation space.
All right.
And I thought about making a crystal model of Stonehenge, which is something you talked about.
Yes.
And then I began to think about where would I put this in the room. And then I was thinking, do I tie that in with the phi ratio? And I didn't really know where to start. And there's possibly an exciting project building my own home. And I thought of ideas such as burying crystals in a hexagon in the concrete or something like that.
Oh,
so
all right.
I'm
Something like that.
Yeah. Now I also paint. When I paint, I don't have any problem plugging into my intuition and running with that. But when I work, I tend to start with technical information, regulations, and I may overlay my intuition on top of that.
Oh, all right.
So I have no idea really where to start with applying sacred geometry into these real-life projects.
But that's not true. You have already done it in a project that you described up front.
I have, but I don't understand the effect that has on me, on clients.
Do you need to?
I may have an infinite number of ideas, and which one do I incorporate?
How about all of them?
It becomes fantastically complex.
Yes. You mean like creation? Creation is fantastically complex, but it's based on very simple principles. And therefore, if you just start with the simple principles, whatever degree of complexity results from where you start and how you start will be the degree of complexity that needs to occur in that particular project. It will show you when it's done. And the people that are attracted to those projects don't have to consciously understand why they're attracted to them. But if they are attracted to them, then some part of them understands why they are attracted to them. So if you've created a project to be representative of those ratios, and some part of them needs to be exposed to spaces that represent those ratios, then whether they know it consciously or not, they will attract themselves to those spaces that you have created that are representative of those ratios. Because those ratios will create harmonic, vibrational chambers that resonate energy in a certain way, and that may be what they need, whether they, again, consciously knew that or not when they attracted themselves to the project. You don't have to know all the details to understand that as long as you are following your intuition and doing what excites you, then there will be someone who will get an advantage out of it, even if they don't understand how they're getting an advantage out of it. What difference does it make? You don't have to know that. You only have to know what it is you prefer to do and do it in the way that is most exciting for you. And then go on to the next thing. Yes? No?
It's confusing.
Why? What's confusing about it?
The confusing
What
part
are you
is knowing-
choosing to be confused about? And by the way, when you said I tend to do this, nonsense. You choose to do things. If you say I tend to do it, you're saying it's out of my control. But if you take the responsibility and say, even if it's something I don't prefer, I chose to do it, then that gives you the control to change it. Whereas if you say, I just tend to do it, you have no control to change it. You understand? So at least take the responsibility when you notice a tendency of acknowledging that it's actually a choice. Yes? Even if it's an unconscious choice. It's a choice. Because if you don't make it a choice, you can't do anything about changing it. Does that make sense? I guess not.
My mind is running while you're talking. I'm thinking about something else. And
Oh, all right. So what you're saying, in other words, is that you're not actually paying attention.
no, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. What occurred to me is that when I paint, there was a point at which when I was
Yes.
developing as an artist,
Yes.
something inside of me would say, okay, that's enough, stop painting, you've
Yes.
finished.
So?
So I need to learn to apply that to these.
And what is it within your belief system that prevents you from applying that? What makes it different than the painting to you?
Painting is simple, two-dimensional, quick and easy.
And what definitions do you have about the other form of art that makes it not seem that way? Because it's only your definitions that are making it seem difficult. There's no such thing as an inherently difficult situation. Only your definitions of the situation and your relationship to it allow you to experience it in a difficult way. So what definitions do you have that makes this difficult and this easy?
There's too much information to incorporate in a real-life project.
Then maybe you don't need to incorporate as much information as you think.
Okay.
Is that possible for you to wrap your mind around? You may not necessarily need as much information in the way you've been gathering it as you think. There may be other ways for the information to come to you when you need it, where you need it, and not necessarily have to go about getting that information the way you have been going about getting it. That may be what's causing the confusion, is your style of what you think you have to know instead of allowing yourself to know what you need to know when you need to know it. What about that?
I think I'm there. I'm not far away.
May I make an observation?
Yes,
You think too much.
that's fine.
You're overthinking things. You don't need to know as much as you think you do to do something. Start simply. How about that? Go back to basics with your architecture. Start simply and stay simple for a while and see if information starts coming to you in a different way that seems more clarifying.
Okay.
Change your technique of approach to architecture in the same way you approach the idea of your painting and see what happens.
Okay, I understand that.
All right.
How does this relate to the last lady's question? You said there's a point at which these things no longer become necessary or relevant.
Yes.
So that could mean it's no longer necessary or relevant for me to do any of this. That people can
Maybe, if it's not exciting to you, at least if it's not exciting in the way you're doing it, there may be a way that's more exciting to do it. Or if you make an honest assessment that this thing itself is not representative of your highest excitement, then by all means, do what is. The other thing you learn by following your excitement is that sometimes you will be brought back to a thing you may be doing now, but by following your excitement, because remember I said one of the tools is that all excitement is connected to all expressions of excitement. So if there is something about this that could excite you more, by following whatever is more exciting now, it is connected to that and will bring you back to that, but will bring you back to that from a more exciting direction.
Yeah, I understand. Yep.
Because it's a holistic system, not really a collection of parts. That's just an illusion.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
All right, let it sink in.
Okay, the gentleman next to me asked a quick question. Can I ask that for him?
Which would be what?
Can you give an update on when we're all likely to know that there is life elsewhere?
Well, as we said, it's still most likely between this year and your year of 2017.
Okay.
But what we are talking about is simply the idea that you will have proof that life can exist elsewhere. It may come in a form you don't necessarily expect, and it may not necessarily mean that you're looking at UFOs landing everywhere. It simply means you will know for a fact that life exists elsewhere other than your planet. And this may be one of the things that will begin to make itself evident somewhere around the fall of 2016, give or take.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
All right.